No matter how great your car is, you can still fall foul of long journey boredom unless you've a decent in-car entertainment system. Of course, these days cars don't just have music systems available, but all sorts of navigation and traffic jam busting gadgets, as well as in-car TV or video games for the kids in the back. But we didn't always have things so good.
Well, if you were lucky enough to have any kind of in-car entertainment, that was first class, and you would have had a unit something of this size with big dials and wheels, and there'd be things like Luxembourg and Hilversum and what have you on the dial, and it were wonderful days. You could twiddle with the knob and always make it better than it sounded originally.
And the worldwide thirst for better quality and smaller equipment gave the Japanese an inkling to get in the manufacture game, where they were to dominate, but they didn't get it right at first.
Yeah, well, the 8-track cartridge was the first time that stereo modern music was available at will in the car, and it was quite a status symbol to have the 8-track cartridge laying on your rear parcel shelf so that everybody knew you had an 8-track.
These are some I've dug out, one I made earlier. This is an old trio one, which is around about 1983 this was first produced, and you can probably see on it hundreds and hundreds of buttons and a very tiny display. We then got into the, as you had yours stolen, we took some note of that, and we produced a theft prevention chassis. We can actually pull the whole radio out and take it with you. So you left your car completely empty, and also you can see on that as a wider display.
The compact cassette revolutionised car radio. The most important thing, of course, by virtue of its size, meant that it could end up being usable in the DIN slot that we know today, instead of the huge, great lumps of hardware that you had to have with the 8-track cartridge.
When compact discs arrived at our homes, we all enjoyed their crackle-free clarity. But in the first years of in-car use, they skipped and skipped and skipped. So installers covered CD players in layers of foam rubber to absorb shock.
A lot of the people that were actually installing these products into cars actually did remember very well the 45 singles and how sensitive they were to vibration. So their first port of call was to cover the compact disc player in foam rubber to absorb all the vibrations and shock. But in actual fact, that was the worst thing that you could do for a compact disc player, because it wasn't able to have a jittering movement like this, because the memory and autocorrection, etc., wasn't there in those days. So that was actually the worst thing. Had you have bolted it firmly to the chassis at both the nose and the rear side, then the impacts would have been like that, and the machines had shock absorber systems in them that were able to cope with that kind of impact.
The arrival of the skip-free CD opened up an enormous expansion in the in-car entertainment market. It was bonanza time for everybody.
The market was crazy for car stereos at the time. No cars didn't come with radios or stereos. It wasn't normal to have a radio in the car. It was ridiculous. If we didn't have 10 or 20 pieces of a particular item in on a Saturday morning, it was wait time opening the shop. It was just crazy. It was fantastic times.
The war began between manufacturers as to how many features you could put on an in-car unit. But of course, the more buttons and parameters to alter led to a much more complicated unit to use.
They are fairly simple once you get used to them. It's like living with anything. The one that we put in the bin, fortunately, was as simple as you could get, really. It was sort of my first hi-fi of any description. But now, you know, the stereos you get now, some of them are dual buttons, so they're quite simple. Once you get used to it, they'll perform two functions, but I say it's very, very simple to go through.
FM to medium wave, long wave, back to compact disc or a cassette. Then there are alterations that you would wish to make to the tone, balance, etc. of that material. So those functions still exist on almost all car audio systems today. But of course, the more sophisticated the system is, the better able it is to cope with all those different things.
But how do new audio systems get designed? This is the Alpine Evaluation Center in Japan, an advanced facility which includes a sound lab which evaluates car acoustics so that audio systems' power output, equalization and speaker placement can be optimized against road and wind noise. This is the lighting simulation room, which enables engineers to analyze the visibility of in-car displays under all kinds of conditions and in any hour, in any country, in any season. A radio wave shielded room is essential for determining the influence of radio waves and equipment performance. What's more, Alpine, unbelievably, have a test course to ensure their audio and navigation equipment still functions perfectly under the worst knock-around conditions, particularly useful to ensure compact disc systems are shock-proofed and don't slip like in the old days.
I remember the early days of CD, £699, £799 for a single slot CD. Absolute terrible. Used to skip. The clarity was there, but they weren't consistent. These days, £200 for a radio CD combined.
This is one of the workshops of Auto Audio, a Manchester-based organisation who specialise in customised systems for all sorts of vehicles, including many open checkbook jobs.
It was created in 12 days by myself and the guys here for one purpose, to show how good that an install could be. It had to be an awesome install to match the car, and it also had to be ready in 12 days for the finals at Wembley. As you can see by the bonnet area, we had to keep a little bit of storage as a going away bag, etc. But we used a lot of perspex, aluminium and polishing to create a different theme than the average. All the panels were retrimmed in the Alcantara to match the original car. Space is very limited, and to get a very good sound from this, we had to have a lot of power to make it dynamic and to sound as good as possible. Behind the passenger seat is one 8-inch subwoofer in a very small box, which is powered by 2 very big amplifiers. Each of the doors consist of a 6-inch mid and a tweeter. Again, each amplifier is bridged, producing a lot of power, and each amplifier produces about 300 watts going to each door. The whole of the centre console here to take an EPX, which is crossover, EQ and the master volume. As you can see, the main brain for it was polished to match the amplifiers. The Lamborghini comes with a 6-inch speaker here on a flat panel. So we could enable us to get a tweeter and a more powerful mid-bass speaker, we constructed this panel here, made out of MDF, fiberglass, and then trimmed with the Alcantara and finished off with the aluminium to match the rest of the car.
Next week, more stunning audio systems and competitive vehicles, and how the mini disc is taking over from CDs as the practical in-car digital medium.